We're gonna do it. We're gonna do brain rot. Okay. I found an interview between Chris Williamson,
You talked
who
about it
does like a I don't know. He's kind of like a knockoff Lex Friedman combined with Joe Rogan type.
Do you find
And he had Eric Weinstein on, and they did a show together where one of the topics was, what do modern women actually want in a man? And I'm genuinely curious what Eric Weinstein thinks women want. So let's find out.
that women, heterosexual women, respond to classical masculinity? I have to be very careful as I ask, because they certainly respond more than they're supposed to according to modern rules of femininity.
Correct.
But my guess is that it's greatly decreased from the market for masculinity in the 60s, let's say.
So look, again, inter and intrasexual dynamics, something I've spent an awful lot of time learning about. I'm writing a book at the moment with David Buss, evolutionary psychologist, on this. In the early 2010s, after the success of 50 Shades of Grey, there was a proliferation of dark romance novels, and there was a pushback from the feminism movement saying that the portrayals of men.
Oh, okay. We're in Moon Logic territory. Okay, let's go.
And as dominant, masculine, bearded, big-chested, in a loincloth or a plaid shirt, wielding an axe, wasn't what women wanted. They wanted a softer, more
like the brawny guy or the Marlboro Man.
Correct. They wanted a soft.
Okay. I think there are some citations needed here. Because the main discourse I saw as somebody who is extremely online when 50 Shades of Grey came out was not that women don't want dominant or like, you know, they don't want tops. Like, no, what I saw with the discourse was that it was a very poor representation of BDSM because it disregarded consent, which is very, very important when you're talking about BDSM. Consent is king, you know? And that was the main discourse. Not that women don't want, like, men who are, like, muscular and, like, hairy-chested and able to survive in the wilderness. That wasn't the main takeaway from 50 Shades of Grey. Because also 50 Shades of Grey wasn't about that kind of man. 50 Shades of Grey was about a man who wanted to do extreme BDSM and disregarded consent and wanted to leverage his money and power to coerce a woman to do things against her will. And he was not the kind of man who was like a brawny wilderness survivor, like Marlboro Man type. He was a wealthy asshole. My God. Well, yeah. But I think they're talking about the book, Will Kale.
Softer version of this. So they started putting more agreeable, more feminized men on the front cover of books. They didn't sell.
Right.
Citations needed. That you need to like do the legwork here. Who decided that muscular, brawny men were no longer like what women wanted, and then as a result change their practices to put more effeminate men on the cover of their products? Like, who was doing that? You need to like actually provide a citation in order to make this argument.
But I wouldn't guess that either of those would be where modern women's heads would be at now.
In the space of 10 years. So I think that there's massively a difference between stated and revealed preferences.
Sure.
Right. And also to caveat that, the thing that you may sexually fantasize about is not necessarily what you want to get into a relationship with.
Sure.
Guys will say
more.
That what you optimize for in a one-night stand and what you optimize for in a marriage partner aren't always necessarily the same
I would
thing.
think they would be wildly disparate.
Correct. Which means that the front cover of the romance novel is not necessarily the partner that you want long-term. They're the one that you want to fantasize about. Most of these stories are driven by sex rather than driven by love.
So I have this.
Wow, what amazing insight. It took you 14 years to figure out that women were reading a BDSM story for the sex and not the romance. That's crazy, dog.
Hypothesis, and I wonder if you have names for all sorts of things that
Before you give me it, I just need to bunch
Were women even attracted to the Marlboro Man? I don't think so. That's the thing, right? Like the Marlboro Man wasn't there to be like, women want to like bang the Marlboro Man, and that's why they're gonna buy his cigarettes. No, like the Marlboro Man was for men. And I think a lot of men don't understand this aspect of advertising or of like design. But like frequently when products are marketed to men, they will provide fantasy fulfillment bodies to project yourself into. The idea that, as a man, when you smoke a Marlboro cigarette, you are as cool as the Marlboro. I can't say it right, okay? I'm sorry. Marlboro Man. The same is true, by the way, in a lot of video games. Video games throughout like the 90s and early aughts were largely aimed towards men and boys, and the advertising reflects that. And often, not just the advertising, but the character design in those games, right? A good example of this might be Altered Beast. Altered Beast isn't about a muscly dude in order to appeal to women's sexual fantasies. It's the main character is a muscly dude in Altered Beast to appeal to men and young boys like power fantasy. That's the point there is like, oh, you are now as powerful as this man. And that's a wish fulfillment. That's a fantasy fulfillment for men and boys. Like it's not for women.
this up. Your acronym, your penchant for acronyms.
Yeah.
And a friend, Mary, says, meme first, explain later. And I think that some of my favorite episodes, they rely on aphorisms. They rely on that.
Wait, episodes of what?
Bunch this. If you have names for all sorts of things. So I have this hypothesis, and I wonder if you have names for all sorts of things that.
Before you give me it, I just need to bunch this up. Your acronym, your penchant for acronyms.
Yeah.
And a friend, Mary, says, meme first, explain later. And I think that
what?
Some of my favorite episodes, they rely on aphorisms. They rely on creating memes.
Sure.
Small, quippy razors and so on and so forth. First off, because it makes it easier to remember, but secondly, because that's what gets the hooks into you.
Yeah.
This is how you make things. So
what episodes is he talking about here?
If you are somebody that's listening that has an idea, that really loves that idea, give it a name. Give it a name and give it a cool name.
Yeah.
I came up with Fame's Seesaw the other day, which is that on your way up, people want to support you because you remind them of their dreams. When you're at the top, they tear you down because you remind them of what they gave up on.
Yeah, yeah.
Fame's Seesaw. Beautiful. And now, even if it's fucking wrong, you can't forget it. So
It's good.
very nice. You were saying.
Man, I love when a guy just admits he's making meaningless platitudes. That's crazy, dude.
That when heterosexual women realize that they have several possible life cycles and they don't have a clear sense of which one they will actually live. Am I going to get married and raise children and be at home with the children? Am I going to get married and have one child, maybe two, and be a career person? Am I never going to couple but have children? Am I going to have no children whatsoever? Am I going to do that in a coupled situation?
Yeah.
their decision trees blow out as to what it is that they're actually looking for. And one of my strong senses is that women encountered something they weren't expecting.
I love that these guys are like, so women have their entire life path planned out, and they're really just constantly standing at a crossroads and trying to decide which plan to follow. It's like, no, we're not. Women aren't doing that. We're just getting up every day and going to work and trying to do our best to not like die or be sad. And like you can be the kind of person who's like, I'm only gonna do one night stands, and then suddenly you get knocked up, and suddenly it turns out you're actually kind of hitting it off with like the father of your child, and actually, you know, you're thinking, am I gonna keep it? And now you're suddenly it's like 15 years later, and you're married, and it's not going so great, and so you like get a divorce, and now you have a kid that you have like part-time custody of who's in his teens, and now it's time for you to date again. And like the issue I have here is that life is messy. Even if you have these life plans, there are no guarantees. Your partner tomorrow could get hit by a bus and throw all of your life plans in the garbage because you have no way of knowing what's going to happen. None. And I know that idea makes people uncomfortable, but that's reality. And so I dislike this almost like infantilization of reality that is going on here, where they're like, yeah, women are just standing at a constant crossroads trying to decide what kind of future they'll have. But like, sometimes you don't get to choose what future you'll have, or sometimes you choose the future you want and you don't get it. Because that's just what being alive is like. Damn, Jack, you just kind of described my cousin. It's reality.
Which is that they might even be smarter than the guy at work who they're competing with, but he's happy to come in all of Saturday, all of Sunday, and work hours that are completely psychotic. And so then the idea of, well, we need work-life balance. We don't want people coming in on Friday.
But does he understand that like working psychotic hours is bad? Like, don't do that. That guy should not be doing that, right? Like, we shouldn't have a system that relies on people doing that. That's a guy who's been duped and coerced into doing far more labor than he's legally supposed to be doing. But I love that Eric Weinstein here is putting forward the idea that essentially women invented the idea of work-life balance in order to, I don't know, more equitably compete with men. That's insane, dog.
Friday and Saturday, because that's sort of an unfair advantage that somebody who wants a healthy life is different from somebody who wants an extreme life. And so now you have this.
Man, I love how he put forward this. I'm sorry, he put forward this situation in which like there's a woman who's like, you know, I should have work-life balance so that I can like, you know, not go insane and like murder my coworkers. And so I can like, you know, go out and like have fun every once in a while. And on the other hand, you have a guy who's working like 200 hours per week. And he's like, you know, some people just don't like to live extremely, you know? It's like, no, that's not what's happening in this hypothetical that you yourself are putting forward. There's no guy who's just like, yeah, bro, I'm here to be extreme. And then who like goes into his cubicle and just lives there for the next 20 years. That's not extreme living. That's called being a sucker.
Problem, which is I'm attracted to the sort of man I wouldn't want to compete with at work. If I'm going to be in the office, I want to know that I'm not going to have to deal with the guy who's willing to give up every weekend and work hours that I'm unwilling to work because that's not how I'm set at the factory.
God, can we take a minute to marvel at the set that they're on? Like, guys, if you have a show that's literally watched by almost like 2 million people, and your set is just like your garage, do like a little bit better, you know? Like, they have the ability to do better than this, guys. Yeah, this is like the ultimate, like, I don't know, like, performative set. Like, this set is there to let you know this is a real man space for real man things. Yeah, that's what they're trying to communicate with the set. I've heard more coherent arguments about how the narrative that we teach young women has changed dramatically, but the narrative we teach young men has largely remained the same, and that has caused conflicts. Basically, society's development has been uneven. Well, yeah, and that's largely a result of like women entering the workforce and the narrative of what we teach women needing to change by necessity, but the narrative we feed to women or men has largely not changed due to the fact that patriarchy largely keeps it stagnant, you know?
Versus, I want that guy as the go-getter while I'm pregnant and incapacitated and raising children, to make sure that not only he can shepherd our family through anything because he's highly capable, but can also get me back into the workforce when I'm done raising children. And this is somewhat what I believe is responsible for the sort of incoherent messages that men and women are sending to each other, is that when we don't know what life cycle we are going to be inhabiting, our eroticism and our romance and our desire is unstable.
One of the most uncomfortable correlations that I've found over the last few years is that as gender inequality, pay inequality between the genders increases, relationship satisfaction for both men and women increases as well.
Citation needed. You know, it's really wonderful that this guy is just pulling points out of his ass constantly in this conversation with absolutely no evidence or source to back it up. It's all just it's the vibes based economy, man.
Sorry, decreases. The more egalitarian, the more equal the pay, the less satisfied both sexes are with relationships.
Citation needed.
Men who are in relationships where the woman is the primary breadwinner are 50% more likely to use erectile dysfunction medication. Where
I'm sorry.
With relationships. Men who are in relationships where the woman is the primary breadwinner are 50% more likely to use erectile dysfunction medication.
Okay, first of all, citation needed. Second of all, even if that were the case, that's not an indicator that their sex life is compromised. Erectile dysfunction is like a physical ailment. Like it's a thing that happens to people all the time. That's not an indicator of like a lack of sexual fulfillment in the relationship.
Where a woman is contributing more than 70% of the household income, the marriage is twice as likely to end in divorce. Women,
I mean, I feel like man, what a pause frame here. My God. Oh God. Yeah, no, like the thing is, he's reading that data. You know, if I'll grant him that this is some sort of data, right? But like, even if you grant it, it would indicate to me that the only way those marriages would have survived is with a drastically unfair power balance. Because if a woman can't divorce her husband because otherwise, like, they won't be able to fend for themselves or their children, like, they're not going to get a divorce. So all that he's really proving here is that, like, in a situation where women tend to, like, have more money, they're more willing to leave their spouse. They're less willing to put up with bullshit.
For a woman to move herself the same distance on a 10-point scale in terms of attractiveness that a man can by increasing his income by $100,000, she would need a 10,000 times increase in income.
What? Okay, he's literally just using moon logic. Yeah, if a man made $100,000 more dollars, he'd be so much more attractive. But in order to attain the same level of attractiveness boosting, a woman would have to make $10 million. Are you joking? This is moon logic, dog. Also, women, I know that the men who watch shows like this, right? Wait, would it even be? No, it wouldn't be 10 million. Oh my god, sorry. My math is terrible. Sorry, just to use his actual math that he's putting forward here, right? Just to use his actual math, right? So 10,000. Here we go. 10,000 times 100,000. So by his logic, in order to be an attractive woman based on money alone, you would have to be a literal billionaire. You would actually have to make $1 billion every year as a woman to match just any man who makes $100,000 a year. Are you fucking kidding me? Who the hell is this jackass? This is Chris Williamson. He has almost 2 million subscribers. This episode came out a month ago and it has 500,000 views.
In short, women are interested socioeconomically in the status of their partner in a way that men aren't. Now the problem.
Now I will say this might be true, but this is largely due to the way like men and women have been socialized. You know, this is a socializing factor, right? But also the men who watch shows like this tend to also be looking at like the women that are brought on to shows like Whatever. The Whatever podcast. It's really big on TikTok. And the women who are brought on those shows are like really attractive OnlyFans models. Like they literally make their living by being hot. They are hired by the show to be on that show. And like the dudes who watch things like this are like, yeah, they only care about wealth and money and stuff. That's why they only hang around with those guys. They completely ignorant of the fact that like those women are being paid by those guys to be there. Those women would not choose to hang out with like shitty guys unless they had a financial motivation. But the thing is, and this is the sad part, but we need to be real honest, okay? If you're a dude, like so much of what women are attracted to is your personality, okay? Your personality can help you get laid by women who are much, much hotter than you. I promise. Practice being funny. Practice being able to talk to people. Practice having social skills. Practice being confident. Because women are way more attracted to that kind of stuff than they are about, like, how much money you have. Women tend not to actually be that attracted to money. They're attracted to people who are kind, considerate, people who care about them, people who are able to hold a conversation, people who are confident, people who have some of their shit figured out. You know? People will kill for someone who makes them laugh. Exactly, Zoomy dear. Shark is 100% correct. Like, haven't any of you ever seen, like, I don't know, like a kind of chubby guy who's like maybe not like the most attractive dude ever, but you see his wife and you're just like, "Oh my god, dude." That's because he's able to be funny. He's able to be confident. He's able to like dress himself well, you know? And a lot of guys, men, I'm talking to you guys, okay? A lot of you just give up. A lot of you give up. A lot of you just say, well, I'll never be good enough. And then you stop trying. And you need to keep trying because, like, by trying, you get better. You build up those skills. And eventually, they're going to just be second nature to you because you've practiced those skills. You've practiced socializing. You've practiced being confident. And you're just going to exist that way. And by existing that way and by just being authentically yourself, by being confidently yourself, by being funny, by understanding like social interaction, you can be attractive to anybody of any level of income. There's only so far you can go with practice in our culture. No, I disagree. You can view just talking with you like someone at the grocery store as practice. Yo, Mike Ox, good luck to your little brother getting a phalloplasty tomorrow. Hopefully everything goes well. I'm sure it will. Charm is a skill. Have the charisma is a skill. Some people are naturally better at it, the same way some people are naturally like faster than other people. But you can develop your speed. You can develop your riz. Instant creep alert. Everyone moves out no matter how charming you are. I mean, I disagree. If you are practicing, if you are being aware of how you come across to other people, you can work on those things. You can work on being perceived as a creep. You can work on not being perceived as a creep. Literally, like if you're ever like not confident in your ability to interact with people, just remember we're social animals. There's literally like maybe 3 things in your brain as hard-coded as our like desire and understanding of socializing with one another. Okay? like the need to eat, the need to sleep, and the need to shit, okay? Then you have socializing. Yeah, practice socializing, practice how you present yourself in public, practice how you take care of yourself. However that means. If it means meditating, if it means, you know, exercising, if it means skincare, if it means whatever, practice those things. You'll get better at them. You'll do better in society. I promise. All that matters is that you try and you keep trying. Be a decent, chill person first. True. Though sometimes people need to fail a lot before they can chill, you know? Like I needed to like I have extreme social anxiety, okay? It took me a very long time to get comfortable failing. And I think more people need to be comfortable failing social interactions. Honestly, just enjoying talking to someone is half of Riz. Exactly, Peaceful Warrior. Nurture like a healthy level of interest in other people that doesn't go too far. That isn't like encroaching on their privacy, you know? Here's a trick I do. Go find a restaurant in a neighborhood that gets a lot of foot traffic that allows you to eat outside. Set up a laptop or notebook. Get your favorite social beverage. Just pick people and study them. Look for interesting little details in their clothing, gait, and the things they do, how they look. Start to try and understand and imagine yourself in what you see in them. I think that's a great idea. By the way, like that's a great way to just go around life, like paying attention to how people move, what kinds of things they say to each other. I think this is a way that like we learn. You know, it's the way we learn since we're the tiniest children. And I think that it's a very effective way of continuing to learn. Where like even if you're not entirely sure what you're paying attention to, your brain is observing and learning by taking like actual note. The perceived cost of social embarrassment is part of the culture that makes it a bigger mountain to climb than it needs to be. Yeah. Like that's the other aspect of it too, right? Like let go of like what you think other people will think of you. Like let go of that. Just go into a conversation with no expectations. And if it goes poorly, do it again. Figure out why it went poorly. Do it again. Do it again, do it again, do it again, over and over again, until you are able to understand why your social interactions are going poorly and why they're going well. And you don't have to have high stakes conversations every single time you interact with people. You know, you don't have to be like professing your love to each person you see who you find attractive, but like be able to talk to like a homeless person or a busker or like someone who's waiting at the bus stop or like bro your cashier or like you know the guy at the deli counter or like somebody standing in line. Be able to do that stuff because that will prepare you for the larger interactions you have, the more meaningful interactions you have. I used to be super awkward. I started saying hi to every cashier that helped me, regardless of their age or gender. You got to work that social muscle. It's true. It's true. Do we still have any Gordos left? You guys do have 2 Gordos left. But we're not doing Gordo today. Maybe on Monday. We'll see. We'll see how Monday's doing. Wait, Monday? Maybe Tuesday? Right? What was happening Monday? I don't remember. All right. Let's continue this. We're not even halfway through it yet.
problem that you have is that women now have access to education and employment in a way that they never have done before. So they're no longer financially dependent on men.
Sure, but you're seeing something which is particularly heartbreaking in my group of females, which would be women in their mid to late 50s. I have to be honest, I've seen some of the women I was most impressed by never coupling. And when you talk to them, there's some very uncomfortable things that get said. One of which was, I was looking for a man I could look up to, and the pool was just so small. And then, you know, you're thinking, well, okay, it's illegal to say I'm looking for a man that I could look up to, right? Because that's not in accordance with modern feminism and equality.
What? No. You look. Hot take. Hot take. You should be on the market for a partner you respect. You know, what is to rephrase what he's saying here? Someone to look up to. That's someone you respect. It's not it's not, and it never has been illegal by feminism or any other ism to say that you want a partner you respect, a partner you love and who makes you happy. This is not illegal. His framing is so disingenuous. Well, maybe not disingenuous, but like clearly wrong, you know? And what I find interesting here is that he is talking about something that can be a problem, right? Which is like women who kind of age out of desirability. But this kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of stream, which is that there are men out, or sorry, not men are out there and they are socialized to fetishize youth. You know, Helen Mirren is a damn fine looking lady. But the issue is she's old, right? And women are put into the old category, like when they're in their like mid 30s, in their 40s, you know? And so what he's talking about the shrinking pool of people, right, is true to an extent, but that is a problem enforced by patriarchy and its obsession with youth. An obsession that goes far too deep in our society. And I would point out here that, like, there's another factor at play, which is that there are women in their 50s who artificially shrink their pool. You know? There are dudes who are interested in women in their 50s. Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio is like the living embodiment of what I was just talking about, Mike. Like, at a certain point, there is like this need for us to talk about like how a lot of us hold ourselves back by shrinking who we find acceptable for ourselves as partners, right? Because I think that this problem is, by the way, very exacerbated by dating apps in particular, the commodification of our loneliness. Because what those dating apps do is they give us criteria by which we are able to blanket say, no one like this. When in reality, a lot of people would be amenable to people outside of that category, you know? So I think that there are a number of factors at play here, and it's not just that, oh, these women decided to be lonely and old, woe is them, which is what he's about to, you know, kind of articulate.
Totalitarianism. But on the other hand, this idea that when you're, you know, one of the world's leading chemists or something, there's just not that many men that are going to be in that position.
I got another meme for you.
Yeah.
I got in a lot of trouble for this. It's called the tall girl problem. So if you stand atop your own status hierarchy, it's very difficult to find somebody else.
You know, it's really frustrating to me because he keeps like he's at least consistent, guys. This guy's at least consistent. He's coming up with like bullshit phrases for every little thing, right? Which is funny. Like that is a funny character trait for this man. It's weird. It's weird. What can I say? All right, sorry.
Across in a problem. So if you stand, I got in a lot of trouble for this. It's called the tall girl problem. So if you stand atop your own status hierarchy, it's very difficult to find somebody else across and above from yours. You know, if you're a 6'1" girl without heels, you're looking at professional athletes, and 2 women for every 1 man completing a 4-year U.S. college.
See, this is the thing, right? If you're a 6'1" girl without heels, you're looking at college athletes. What? Nah, just date a short king. Just date like a 5'10" guy. Date like. There are also just tall, gangly motherfuckers out there. You don't have to date a college athlete. Again, all of this is only if their standards as like a tall lady are for someone taller than them that they can wear heels around. But like, if you're a tall lady, you can still wear heels even if your partner is shorter than you. My God. 5'10" is short? I mean, no, but like I think in his framing of this situation, it would be. Also yeah, so many dudes love tall girls. My God.
Professional athletes, and 2 women for every 1 man completing a 4-year U.S. college degree by 2030. Between the ages of 21 and 29, women earn £1,111 more on average than their male counterparts.
Right.
But women still have this vestigial attraction to the man who is across and above from them. That's hypergamy. And this means that as you...
Or alternatively, women could just date men who make less money than they do. Like that's obviously where the trends are going. Like obviously women are dating men who make less money than them. That's my God. The argument here that like, yes, well, women, you see, have this vestigial evolutionary component that requires them to date a man who is making more money than them. It's just like, what are you talking about, bro? That's not an inherent thing in women at all. Yeah, the argument he's trying to make is that basically there are fewer and fewer men at the top echelons of society, and women, like, he's basically created a great replacement theory of, but now it's for women replacing men, and how this lopsided, women heavy system is creating the circumstances for women to just like multiple women for one man because they'll never date below their station. And this is insane. This is a crazy argument to make, as if like at the top echelons of society everyone's just having like orgies with each other, and that's just not the case.
As you rise up through your own dominance hierarchy, it amounts to a opportunity of diminishing returns.
But then why are we not allowed to build better men? I mean, this is this thing that just...
Who's not allowed to build better? Wait, who's building men? And who is disallowing men to be built better? Tell me more, or Eric Weinstein.
Floors me. I'm now, through being a father, looking at the subset of young men who are absolutely looking to crush it.
Uh-huh.
And the advice they're being given is so horrific.
What, like?
A generation of young men who want to crush it. It being what exactly? What advice are they being given that is so anti them crushing it?
Well, that doesn't seem mentally healthy, and I think it's much better for you to sort of enjoy this time with everyone else. And it's just like watering down raw ambition. And
So the 2 points he brought up of the most disastrous advice he's seeing is kids being told how to take care of their mental health so they don't develop like crippling like mental health issues. And the other one is essentially like allowing kids to enjoy themselves and just be kids. What are you talking about, bro? Like these are the things that are destroying men, being taught that they can like enjoy themselves and also like how to not develop like mental illnesses later in life. Crazy, dog.
was it Ludacris who said, "Get out the way"? You know, y- get out of the way of these people.
Here's what I hate about these shows, right? And this is why we don't cover a whole lot of these. They talk in broad generalizations nonstop, right? They like, what is it? I'm sorry, Eric Weinstein. What does it mean when you're talking about a school setting, right? Which I'm assuming is what he's talking about here. What does it mean to you? Like, what policy are you advocating for that involves getting out of the way of students? Like, what does that even mean? How does that translate into reality? What do you mean? And very rarely do they go on and clarify. It's just like weird platitudes all the way through.
These people want to invest and blow your socks off and just do amazing things. And there's some administrator or nanny or Nurse Ratched who's like, well, that would be arrogant. We can't have that. And you're saying, I don't think you understand.
Give us an actual example from your life, because it sounds like you're just making shit up here, Eric.
But ambition is a necessary input for certain humans. And if you sit there and say, why do you have a right to innovate when nobody else has innovated? Or don't you
What?
realize that your go-getter personality during the COVID situation was based on your privilege? And in fact, a lot of other people are suffering from mental health. And you're just thinking, why?
No one is saying these things. These aren't things anyone is saying. What the hell is he talking about? He's like shadowboxing the most insane points I've ever heard in my life. He's just like, the woke left is coming to take away ambition. Like, I'm sorry, like, what do you mean? What does any of this mean?
Why am I taking the most promising people and tying them to the most damaged people? Why not instead take the most promising people and have them get a PhD by the age of 2021 and study what to do for their fellow souls who are struggling?
Yeah, so many people are prepared and ready to get a PhD by the age of 20 or 21 years old. For sure, dude. Yeah, just take all of those ambitious people, get them their PhDs, and I don't know, like throw the rest of them in the wood chipper, like throw the unambitious into the incinerator. Like what like what, that's what he's saying, right?
Struggling.
Do you remember when Elon?
Yeah, y'all know how easy it is to get a PhD, right? Just at 15 years old, start writing your thesis.
Took over Twitter and he started to rip out the tech team.
Yeah.
And he said, I want to make Twitter a place where the people who want to work the hardest on the biggest problems can come and work. And people said, they looked at that
me, dude?
and said, this is going back to an archaic form of Silicon Valley where people are forced to sleep under desks and it's a blah, blah, blah. those people do not have theory of mind to understand what it's like to be someone as driven as it takes to look at that from Elon, not as modern day slavery.
Well, you see, you might look at that and say, this is modern day slavery.
I am sick and tired of these monkey fighting white names on this Monday to Friday plane. BWA.
Paladin, thank you for gifting a sub to No Look at Flash. I appreciate it. But the only reason you're looking at what Elon's doing and calling it slavery is because you don't have the right theory of mind. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the kind of guy who'd like time travel back to like the 1830s and be like, well, you're looking around and seeing all this chattel slavery, but that's just because you don't have the theory of mind to understand that this is actually the most productive economic system yet developed in the history of mankind. Like this is just like nonsense buzzwords to like justify worker exploitation.
But no, wait a second. It can be modern day slavery, or it could be the person saying, "For God's sakes, I'm burning to solve this problem. Let me sleep under my desk."
Unhook.
I love that his response was literally like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, it could be modern slavery, though." But we're going to imagine that instead, all of them are just burning with passion and are choosing to sleep under their desks, not because their bosses are coercing them to do too much labor and underpaying them as a result, which is what those working conditions are. And I know that's what those working conditions are because I was a video game journalist. I covered video game development for like 10 years. Do you know how many stories there are about people just like burning the candle at both ends at video game studios because they come in bright-eyed, bushy-tailed at the, excited at the prospect of developing like the next Legend of Zelda, and then they like they go through like years and years of the development cycle. They make it to the end, the game goes gold, everything's going great, and then the company fires them after like having them spend 2 years working so much they barely see their own families. Rockstar, the developer of Red Dead Redemption and the Grand Theft Auto games, there was an organization that had to be that the wives and spouses of workers at Rockstar formed an organization to petition the company because they weren't seeing their family members, because they were all being forced to work and meet insane deadlines by their bosses. And like this is not ambition. This is exploitation. Now it might be the exploitation of ambition, but it really doesn't matter after a certain point, right? The thing is, if you're building your own path, doing your own thing, and you want to burn the candle at both ends, do you? But if you're a wage worker, even at a high level, there's no reason to sacrifice yourself for the good of the corporate identity. Exactly. They are using you, your body, your intellectual labor, your physical labor, to extract profit from your work. And you need to understand that fundamental relationship you have with the place and people you work with. Otherwise, you don't understand what even your ambition is.
Unhook the leash and let me go at this. And there is a cohort of people out there for whom that's their calling. They didn't want to work at Twitter if they got frappuccinos and mindful Monday afternoons off and to be able to play ping pong for half the week and whatever it was that was going on. They want to go and they want to feel like they're contributing to an astronomically sized goal, an unreasonable goal. And they want to feel the rush of going toward it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. The astronomical goal of having the company's value in the span of a year.
And I think you're right. I think that there is a dampening of ambition. And since being in America, since moving to America 18 months ago, it's the fuel that I've had from the enthusiasm from the people I've been around has fueled me and powered me in a way that I wasn't, it was alien. I was 33 years old and I'd never felt it before.
I want to look, there's so much to do, and it requires ambitious people. And those people have to be both arrogant and humble. It's a complicated thing. It involves mentorship. I want to say also something about elitism. Elitism is incredibly unfair. You know, I've hung out with Stanley Jordan, and I am never going to play any instrument the way Stanley Jordan plays the guitar. He's an elite object. I am not going to be that guy. You have to learn how to let elite people do elite things where you can't compete with them.
Yeah, you have to. Eric Weinstein is 100% correct. You have to be able to recognize your betters and lick their boots. You have to recognize when other people are just plain better than you and superior to you, really. Man, like, if you have a worldview like this, no wonder you're sad all the time. No wonder you're struggling in life, right? If you're walking around just being like, yeah, you're right, I need to recognize that this man is just inherently better than me. Like, yeah, of course you're going to feel inferior to everyone you meet. You've cultivated a mindset by which you hold yourself up to everyone else. Yeah, no wonder women don't want to do shit with you.
I don't know what to do about this. The idea that we're turning against the concept.
It's so funny. I'm sorry. I know I'm being real pause champ about this video, but just real quick.
Where you can't compete with them. I don't know what to do about this.
It's so funny to me that after talking for 10 minutes, right? One of his closing thoughts is, I don't know what to do about this. And it's just the thought never occurs to either of them. Maybe it will in the last 2 minutes. That the people who need to change are themselves. That they never stop to think that maybe their ideology, the way they think about people and relationships and the world, is fundamentally and deeply flawed. They never stop to consider that they're the problem here. And I think that that's very interesting. Because I know plenty of people who are capable of recognizing their own flaws, but these two seem incapable of it. Yeah, no, Brianna Huffman, it's literally the could I really be that out of touch? No, it's the children that are wrong. It's literally that writ large in these two's existences.
The idea that we're turning against the concept of elite because we've got this sort of pretend elite that sits in these chairs that screws everything up. And you've got all of these.
It's also very funny that, like, he's railing against elites that sit in chairs, screwing everything up. And literally, they're both sitting in chairs.
Ambitious people
screwing everything up.
Who are being destroyed by enforced helplessness. You know, how do we fire the administrators necessary to return universities to being universities?
I want to know what he means by enforced helplessness. He hasn't really elaborated on that at all.
How do we explain that some people are built to fly wingsuits? You know, it's a super dangerous activity. But somebody needs that rush or they're not alive. You know, people need danger, they need risk, they need to be able to create, and they don't need you in their way all the time.
This episode is brought to you by Element.
No, I'm good. Yeah, all of that was like nonsense that they did not provide citations for. It's crazy.